Brock Purdy and the 49ers beat Seahawks, clinched the NFC West. Were you impressed? 21-13. The line was 4 points. I hammered that line, by the way. I knew the 49ers would cover. You impressed. The 49ers beat the Seahawks, clinched the NFC West. You feel even more confident about what the 49ers are doing without Trey Lance, without Jimmy Garoppolo. Brock Purdy, can he get them to the Super Bowl?
Yes. And I know that might surprise people if that defense plays the way it does. Now, keep this in mind. That defense allows the offense to be relatively conservative. If that young man right there can just stay off the turnovers, move the chains, and create 20 to 24 points, that in most games, in most instances, will make the 49ers the winning team. The score was 21-13, but Jason, I thought it was very, very much a game that felt like a blowout. And if you take away that,
it would have been a blowout. You know, the refs stopped the blowout with that roughing the passer call on Bosa.
And we got to get into that. Yes, that game was a blowout. If there's ever a game that felt like a lopsided score with just an 8-point margin, it was that. Now, we got to get into that real quickly here. That call is very dangerous because a flag at any time that's thrown by a referee at their discretion can just flip a game. If I'm not mistaken, that was a pick six that would have turned that game, I believe, into a 28-6 or something like that, and the game felt over until that flag came. Now, here's the guy that I want to rip on that, besides the referee, Kirk Herbstreit, your old buddy. He actually, I watched this game, he's like, well, that's a pretty good call. He kind of... Timeout. Hey, Kirk, can you have some balls? You played the game. Can you at least have a little modicum of honesty like a Troy Aikman? And I'm not asking you to tell them to wear a skirt. But when Kirk said, well, that's probably what he's trying to justify the dog. And that's what I hate about the mainstream media and guys like Herbstreit. They've made a lot of money. They're in an exalted position, but they don't have the guts to just tell the truth and say, bad call, bad rule, I hate it, because they don't want the blowback. That's all, honestly. I know that's your guy,
Kirk Herbstreit has done a very good job with Thursday Night Football. I had low expectations for he and Al Michaels. I thought they've done a great job. I do think Kirk and other broadcasters, we got to remember, Troy Aikman had to come out and apologize for saying put skirts on them. Everybody knows the rules. They have to sell the lie that nothing has changed with football and the NFL is just as difficult as it used to be. That's their job, to sell the lie. So I'm not going to rip Kirk Herbstreit. It is our job, the rest of the media that isn't attached to selling the actual game and product, to call out and point out what we're seeing and what you have to basically ask the quarterback to fall to the ground now. You can't put your body weight on it. That was a ridiculous call. And part of me, I'm going to go tinfoil hat. I don't care if people don't like it. Part of me thinks there's referees in New York in the earpieces of the referees on the field asking for these flags. Hey, this game's getting out of hand. Throw that flag there. Let's back them up. Let's don't have this game changing. Let's don't have blowouts. Because I just don't know how any man who's been involved with football for any length of time would look at that Nick Bosa play and go, yeah, that's roughing the passer. Somebody had to be in your ear. Throw that flag. That's roughing the passer.
Jason,
go back. I can't take it.
Go back to when the body weight thing really started. The play where they started to examine that particular dynamic of football. It was, I believe, the 2000 AFC Championship game where Tony Siragusa just folded Rich Gannon and just laid on him. It looked like something out of the WWF. Now, that type of play, I can see hey, it's the quarterback. They should be protected a little bit. I get it. But this is the double standard and the hypocrisy of that call. Last Sunday, we referenced this. Jalen Phillips sacks the quarterback, but because he didn't put a pillow underneath his head, it's a penalty. On a sack, Mike White, that very same Sunday, was getting blasted by the Bills. I mean, absolutely blasted to a point. He tapped out twice, and he kept coming back for more And then I'm asking, well, wait a minute, what is the difference between what happened to Herbert and Mike White? Well, one guy is a franchise player that is the face of the franchise. The other guy's kind of a journeyman, backup. We don't know where he stands. But it was funny. It almost felt to me that Jalen Phillips was penalized because the guy didn't get rid of the ball. Well, Mike White actually got rid of the ball both occasions where he got knocked out of the game. So then you go back to yesterday saying, okay, maybe that's the rule. Don't tackle a guy with the ball too hard. Well, Bosa got Geno Smith, who got rid of the ball. There's something very wrong about that rule, but it's just maddening. And I get it. Kirk Herbstreit is a very sensitive guy. He likes to gauge the temperature of the American public. But come on, Kirk, have some guts and be honest and say that's a terrible call and a terrible rule. Let's shelve it.
Steve, I'm going to defend Kirk. You do realize that they have meetings before the season where the NFL spells out, here's what we want you to talk about, here's what we want you to avoid talking about. And these broadcasters know that if they go past that line of what they have specifically told you, we don't want you talking about this, then those $10 million and $15 million a year checks they're getting for calling football games can disappear. And so everybody has been instructed, and that's why Troy Aikman came out and apologized. Everybody's been instructed, hey guys, this whole game is dependent on selling these quarterbacks as big TV stars, and we're committed to doing everything to protecting the quarterbacks and making sure they don't get hurt. We don't want you talking about how soft the game has become around quarterback play. We're selling the myth that these guys are heroic gladiators that have to take all these antidepressants and all Percocet and anti-inflammatories all to get on the field. This is a gladiator sport, and so we don't want you talking about that. It's no longer that. It's not a gladiator sport anymore. It's organized, very controlled, orchestrated football. We don't want you talking about that. Atheists, the secular world, the culture uses our imperfection, our sins to shut up. You can't stand on truth. And if all it was imperfection, it eliminated us from standing on truth, this would be a very quiet place. I'm trying to be as loud as I can and as transparent as I can to try to inspire other men. We know you're imperfect. You know you're imperfect. God's grace and mercy gives you the right to stand on his truth and to speak that loudly into the culture, and we have to do that.
You can look around and say, these guys have taken over everything. They own the CDC, the NIH, they got the president. Is transgender surgery for children? Colleges today are nothing but leftist indoctrination centers working fully against the Bible. What's the alternative? So you're gonna stop fighting today and you're gonna let the government raise your kids? And you're gonna turn around and let them chop off your 12-year-old daughter's breasts and let them sterilize your son and tell him that he's a girl? And you're gonna let them make the Bible hate speech? You're the last line of defense here, because nobody else is gonna do it, and God's gonna walk with you. This is literally worth dying for. Absolutely. I'm telling you, so it's like everybody, it's a nice little metaphor. This is it. If there's a hill to die on, this is it.
The Overton window has been moved right in front of our children's bedrooms. And there are all types of people that are trying to climb up in the ladder. And every good father should be on his post, so that when they peek their head up over the windowsill, you kick the ladder back down, let them know you move on to the other house, because we're not playing that around here.
Sometimes just standing up, just saying, no, we're not going to do that. Not my marriage, not my kids, not my family, not my community, not my church, not my city. Just declaring that's victory enough. In prepping his disciples, he tells Peter, he's like, listen, Satan desires to sift you as wheat, but I've prayed for you. We're gonna face some ups and downs in life, and we're not gonna always get it together. But if we stay on the path, if we stay chasing after, running after Jesus, running after his way, he's even praying for us. Now, I like it when you pray for me, Jason and TJ. I appreciate that, but to have Jesus pray for me, that makes me feel pretty good. When you make it through this sifting process, go back and strengthen your brothers. So we all have a responsibility as men. Once he's delivered me through this, I have a responsibility to go back and bring some other folk out.
You do a roll call to just let people know you're not alone, be confident in your positions, and we're going to inspire you. We're going to eat, fellowship, listen to some music. It's going to be the first of many roll calls that we do. So we're looking for soldiers. We're going to put out our best recruiting pitches for soldiers.